Community Feeding Task Force and providing volunteers at what they call the hub, the warehouse, where donations of food are coming in. We have volunteers there. And then there's a number of what they call spokes, which are the local food pantries. So the donations are coming into the warehouse and then being trucked out to the other food pantries. And in some cases, home delivery. We're working very closely with ACTS and their Food Rescue Hero program. So we've been recruiting and placing a lot of volunteers for that operation, while at the same time, our SVP program recruits volunteers for Meals on Wheels. Well, they're not using volunteers for Meals on Wheels right now. Area Agency on Aging staff is doing all of that. So we have those volunteers who are kind of at loose ends and wanting things to do, and we've been trying to draw them in to do some of the food deliveries. So it's been a lot of juggling around, but no, we're definitely staying busy. We are operating differently because we're not taking any foot traffic, and that has changed things quite a bit. We've gotten really good at Zoom and Teams and some of those other platforms.
Yeah. Well, the biggest reason I knew we wanted to interview you is because I started getting sent, I guess it's a weekly column that you all put out.
Yes, our call to action.
Yes, with major ways that folks can serve and also resources for folks in need. And so I wanted to interview you so that we could kind of broadcast that information that you're offering. That we've got a lot of church members who are wondering what to do, a number of church members who are themselves in need and wanting to know where good resources are. And some of that has shifted in the community because some places that were open are closed, and some places that used to offer X kind of support are now offering W, X, Y, and Z kind of support, and things are kind of consolidated. So one of them was the hotline that I learned from your email. So I wonder if you could mention that and some of the other things that have been the information that you're trying to get out into the community.
Okay, absolutely. I have to turn and look at my board to read the hotline number because I don't have it memorized. This is a food hotline, and we have Spanish speakers answering the phone as well. It's kind of a rollover platform so that the calls can keep coming in. You don't get busy unless they're really, really slammed. And that number is 703-794-4668. And it operates Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we have a number of volunteers working the hotline. And what they'll do is they'll tell you where the closest food pantry to you that's being supplied by the Community Feeding Task Force. And in some cases, I think if you're over 65, it will tell you, redirect you so that you can actually get home delivery if you wish.
That's awesome.
So it is awesome. And I'll say in the beginning, they were slammed, and things have tapered off this past week, and we're all trying to figure out why, wondering if there needs to be more advertising of the number or if people have kind of gotten the word. We're not quite sure why it's dropped off.
Yeah. And I guess I'm curious, did that hotline exist before this pandemic?
It did not. It did not. It is a product of the Community Feeding Task Force that came together. It was the three governments, local governments, the cities of Manassas Park, Prince William County, along with ACTS and a whole host of food pantries, most of which are faith-based food pantries, and the coming together of those entities to make sure that there was food to meet the surge, and then also ramping up the number of volunteers that they needed and getting that hotline up and going. So it did not exist previously.
It's pretty remarkable how quickly that coordination happened. I'm so glad to hear about it.
And I can't not give a shout out to Aaron Tolson from ACTS, because he was the one who spearheaded all of those moving parts. And on a daily basis, there's moving parts of what trucks are coming in when. And so we've asked volunteers to be flexible with their schedule, because we might tell them they'll be there from 9 to noon on Monday, but then the truck doesn't come in till 11. So we're scrambling
Yeah.
to change things around.
Thank you. If folks, so I want to hear the phone number one more time before we move on, and then I
Okay.
also want to hear from you if folks might not need to call that number, but if they do want to be able to donate some food, if you can give some direction there.
Okay.
So for folks who
Okay.
need food, can you give the phone number one more time?
Sure. I have to look. It's 703 794 4668.
Great. And I'll include that number in the comments, and then we'll make sure to make a Facebook post specifically with that number so that folks can get that to their neighbors in need. And then if we've got enough food, or even more than enough food, what are some of your suggestions about how we help get that food to places that can use it safely?
What I would recommend is getting in touch with the food pantries directly, the ones closest to you. And I can even send you a list that you can include in your comments for
Love
folks, because I know people are spread out all over the county. So
Right.
The closest food pantry to them might not be as close to their house of worship.
Right.
So I can send you that list. The warehouse is receiving palletized shipments on tractor trailers. So
Right.
they're not as equipped for, bags of this and bags of that. But the food pantries could definitely use those more direct donations. And I can provide you a list of those. And what I would say is call first, because they all have different hours. They all have different protocols. It's pretty amazing how they have worked things out in order to social distance, and how to deliver the groceries to cars as you drive through without there being contact.
Yeah.
People have come up with very clever ways to do that, and they provide PPE for the volunteers. They've got masks and gloves. So I would say call first, and I can provide that list to you, and find out when they're receiving. Find out specifically what they're looking for, because they know what the hot ticket items are.
Yeah.
And it might not be what you think it is necessarily. I'm a peanut butter fan myself, but I don't know that that's what everybody's looking for right now. So the best thing is to call ahead, make arrangements, and find out specifically what then they may need diapers, or they may need something else. They're all doing things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Thank you very much for helping us hear some of those instructions, and for your part in helping connect those resources.
Sure, that's what we're here for.
What are some of the other things in your column, in your weekly, I forget the call to action?
The call to action. Right now, it's all wrapped around the virus, because places that are normally using volunteers are not using volunteers right now. Some of the outdoor opportunities are still existing. And then depending on when our stay-at-home order gets lifted, I'm sure there'll be more opportunities, although I think everyone's going to kind of stage their reentry to stay as safe as possible. One of the things I would recommend is to try maybe some virtual volunteering, or some things that you don't think of. We always want to think of the big organized things, but there's you could take your children out with sidewalk chalk and write happy messages in your neighbors' driveways, or get to know your neighbors in your neighborhood and who might need to be checked on, and drop a note in somebody's mailbox, or make that phone call that you've been putting off. You don't think of those things necessarily as volunteering, but they're definitely community building, just bringing some comfort to someone. I know a friend of mine just sent me a card in the mail that said, "Stay strong." And, it just made a big difference. It was like, yeah, we're all trying to stay strong, but to have somebody go to the trouble to do that. So those are ways that you can volunteer virtually. And it doesn't have to be the great big gesture. I think the little things mean a lot right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I saw there was another note in your call to action that was around even some foster care. And I'm just curious about, is that an emergent need in the midst of the pandemic, or is that different?
A little of both. I think that need is always there, but right now it seems like everything is amplified right now. So I would recommend folks, and it sounds like you're sharing the column, but they can also go to our website. You can go to our website and view the current volunteer opportunities, and the call to action column is actually included on our website. And it's a really easy one. It's volunteerprincewilliam.org. Folks can go and check out. And in non-COVID times, there's a lot more items posted. You can actually kind of shop around by zip code or by an area of interest. There's drop-down menus for you to search that way. And eventually, I think it'll be a new normal, but eventually we'll get back to having more opportunities.
Good.
One other thing I wanted to mention, it kind of goes along with that food donation. A lot of places would appreciate some homemade masks, because that continues to be one of the things, gloves, hand sanitizer, and masks. But check with the organization first and find out how many they need, or find out if someone else is already donating, so that they don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's good. One other that was from I think the most recent call to action was the Senior Link program through ACTS that's looking for volunteers. Can you talk a little bit about that opportunity?
So Senior Link is where seniors can sign up to get a daily fund. Well, they can choose if it's daily or every other day or once a week, just to check in, see how they're doing, kind of have that lifeline, that support network. And they have seen a bit of a surge in people requesting those calls. And we had posted that. Now, it requires training. And so anyone who is interested in that will need to contact to see how they're handling that training piece.
Okay. That one seems attractive because we've got a number of folks who are able but at home, and that sounds like something that somebody can do remotely, assuming that they could get trained remotely.
Yes,
So
that would be
opportunity. Good.
That would be a good remote.
Are you another one is the Prince William Food Rescue. That's for folks who are thinking about getting out of the house and helping out while still practicing social distancing. Can you mention that?
Exactly. And now that did exist pre-COVID. They've been doing that for just over a year now. And it is also a program of ACTS. And it's an app on your smartphone. So smartphone required for that one. And I got to see kind of the backside of this data platform, which was pretty amazing. If say, and I'm just going to throw Wegmans out there because I know they've donated food. Say Wegmans has a case of soup that for whatever reason they're not going to put on the shelf, and a food pantry says, "Oh well, we could use the soup." It goes up in the app, and a volunteer can click on the app and say, "Oh well, I'm in that vicinity and I'm going that way. I can pick it up and take it." So when they click accept, I'm not sure it says accept. I'm not sure what it says, but it will indicate that they're going to take that mission. Then that comes down off of the board, so you don't get 6 people showing up to pick up the same food. And they've been delivering food around the county and the 2 cities using the Food Rescue Hero app for just about a year now, a little over a year. It's amazing. And you know, you don't have contact really. You know, you pull up, they load you, you go where you're going, and they unload you.
Yeah. That's great. That sounds like something that that Grace Church people will want to know about and consider participating in, particularly because it's kind of on your, it comes to you. The opportunity comes right to you through that app.
Yeah, gets delivered to you,
Yeah.
And they always need volunteers for that, and particularly now, those folks are very busy.
Yeah.
So that's one. That one is displayed pretty predominantly on our website if you want to go check, or go to the ACT's website and check it out.
Good. And then there's another one that's mentioning a need for blood. Do you know much through the American Red Cross? Do you know much about that need?
I think a lot of people are not donating blood right now. So, you know, when that happens, there's always a shortage. So that is another great way to volunteer, is to give blood. And I'm not sure if we have listed where the latest blood drives are on there, but you can always
on the one I see says that Manassas Church of the Brethren, and I know the pastor there. She's great, and that you can call or visit the website to make an appointment.
Okay, and you can always check out the Red Cross website too to see, you know, other places as well.
That's great. So one of the things I want to do, get your perspective on, is, do you notice any particular areas of need right now that our community is not well set up to address, folks, or other needs that are kind of falling through the cracks right now?
I'm still wondering why the calls to the food hotline have dropped off. Wondering if we need to spread the word more. You know, people want to go back to work. That's what they really want to do. They really want to go back to work.
Yeah.
I don't know of anything for certain. One thing that I can think of is, you know, and if you have pets, you'll think of this, donations of pet food, which I know some of the food pantries are also doing pet food, but, you know, you need to check with them to see what they're taking and when they're taking it. I know, and it's a tough time for this, but a lot of nonprofits that rely, say, on their thrift store, and they're not getting business at their thrift store, they're really hurting. A lot of the rescue organizations for animals who are usually doing fundraisers that consist of being out in the public, and they're not able to be out in the public, they're hurting. So, you know, check out your favorite organization and see if you can make a donation to them. But that's hard for me to say when I know there's a lot of people who aren't at work right now.
Yeah.
It just kind of is the ripple effect.
Yeah. Well, I promise that we will make sure to do our part to try to get the word out about some of these opportunities and to try to get the hotline. I'm going to try to make a Facebook post that would be shareable and ask our Grace Church folks to share that so that hotline can get out there.
That would be great.
And try to include maybe a couple of other notes that you've drawn our attention to. But I'm really thankful for the consolidation of information and resources and the help that you're offering, connecting people with ways to serve and people with resources that they might need. It's a real gift to the community. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for allowing me this time to share about what we do.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. And
we will keep in touch. And if there are other things that you all want to help, you want to make sure to get the word out, and we can help do that. We're at your service to try to make sure that resources and opportunities get out there to our community.
I really appreciate that. And I want to give a shout out to volunteers everywhere. I mean, this country runs on volunteerism. And if we didn't have people who were willing to share their time and their skills, we would be up the creek without a paddle, so to speak. And I just, this job is so rewarding because you really get to see the best of people. And I am grateful for that.
Good, good. Well, thank you again for your time on behalf of Grace Church and other folks that see this, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, thanks very much. And thank you, volunteers everywhere.
Amen. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.